to do it in an amazing fashion right here in Potrero here where we belong. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming out, for being here to participate and honoring someone who I consider a true San Francisco giant, no pun intended. And I want to welcome you to District 10 where the weather is always beautiful, as you can see, as a testament to today. But we are here to honor someone who, back in '89, was the cause of the Loma Prieta earthquake. I mean, the person who got us out of the Loma Prieta earthquake. But being a mayor is a hard thing, particularly here in San Francisco. And to be a mayor during one of the most trying times, one of the most tumultuous times, and quite frankly, without the pandemic, probably one of the most down times we've had here in San Francisco, made it that much more difficult. And for Mayor Agnos to be able to bring us out of the earthquake and come back and become economically viable again, begin recovery, and do it under his tenure is certainly an amazing feat that we need to make sure we give an amazing hand for that. Something very near and dear to me, as my first job with the city and county in San Francisco was with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families. And Mayor Agnos, under his tenure, was one of the founders of the Children's Fund and made it possible for hundreds of millions of dollars for children's services that are continuing today right here in San Francisco. So again, you deserve an amazing hand for making sure that happened. So it is very fitting that we come here today to name this flat part of Connecticut Street where Mayor Agnos has spent decades with his family, decades within this community, and I could not be more humbled than to have Mayor Agnos as a constituent, as a mentor, and as a friend. He has been there for me, he has been there for this entire district, and he has been there for this entire city. So before I bring up our MC for this morning, I do want to say a couple of thank yous. There's some folks here that made this happen. I'm not going to handle the dignitaries, but of course we're going to make sure we do everything we can to thank everybody who played a role in making this happen. But we have to thank the Department of Public Works for their amazing work for making this happen. I want to thank the staff at SF TV for being here and making sure this happened today. The folks at the flower market. And of course, I want to thank Mayor Art Agnos and his family for being here with us this morning. And I have to give an amazing shout out to my Chief of Staff, Percy Birch, who put everything together here today, working with everyone. So with that said, I am going to bring up our MC for this morning, none other than former, current, however you want to classify him, my friend, former District 3 Supervisor, Aaron Peskin.
Thank you, Supervisor Walton. I wanted to start by thanking Supervisor Walton for carrying the legislation that allows this street to be renamed on this auspicious day for the 39th mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, our collective friend, Art Agnos. And I'll shout him out again. Thank you to all of Shaman's staff, but particularly Percy Birch for making today happen. No detail, big or small, was not attended to by Percy, who undoubtedly will someday represent this district. I also want to thank Supervisor Walton for, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, for being classy enough to invite me and for the honor of emceeing this most deserved celebration for Art Agnos. My job today is to attempt to recognize the elected officials, dignitaries, and leaders here today, which frankly was a very smart move by Supervisor Walton, because when I mess it up, it's going to be on me. Let me start by acknowledging, of course, Mayor Agnos' family, his wife Sherry, his son Steve, his daughter-in-law Jessica, his grandson Daniel, and granddaughter Athena, who brings so much joy into Sherry and Art's life. You'll be hearing from the folks behind me here in just a minute, Mayor Lurie, Speaker Emerita Pelosi, former supervisor from this district, Sophie Maxwell, and Consul General of Greece, Gregorios Tassiopoulos. And I also want to recognize that we've been joined by our public defender, Mano Raju. I serve with 42 members of the Board of Supervisors. Many of them are here today. Supervisor Connie Chan, former Supervisor Matt Gonzalez, Ross Mercarimi, I believe John Avalos is here, and from before our time, Supervisor John Bardis has joined us. I just realized he was on the Board of Supervisors before our current mayor was born, true fact. Supervisor Jim Gonzalez, former supervisor, former assembly member, and former Secretary of State, Kevin Shelley. Our former controller and PUC general manager, Ed Harrington. And when Sherry and I put the word out, Art, we just called about 50 of your former staffers, commissioners, members of your administration. How this turned into like 300, 400 people is highly unclear to me, but I want to acknowledge the many people who are part of Mayor Agnos' administration, his former staff, department heads and commissioners, some of whom traveled a very long distance to be here. You are far too numerous to name, and many of you predate me, but I know Art is delighted to have you here. Would you all raise your hands? I see you there, Pam. If you are part of Art's administration, raise your hands. I see his former chief of staff, Claude Everhart. And it really is a testament to Mayor Agnos that you are still fans after 35 years. I wish I could say that about my staff. And no offense to Mayor Lurie or Mayor Brown, but many of us think that Mayor Agnos still holds the record for the best commission appointments ever. I mean that. To Mayor Agnos' friends in the House of Labor, we see you, especially the Maritime Trades, IOWU, Sailors Union of the Pacific, IBU. Thank you for being here. And to Mayor Agnos' beloved neighbors from Potrero Hill and Dogpatch, yes, I see you, Daniel Webster Elementary crew. Thank you for being here too. And what are called the dead enders right here on Connecticut Street, and to Art's friends from near and far, old ones that date back decades and new ones that he continues to make every day. Thanks for making today so special. Much is made of Mayor Agnos' legacy in reuniting San Francisco with our waterfront when he made the command decision to tear down the Embarcadero Freeway. YIMBY News Alert, Mayor Agnos is actually the OG new urbanist. Wrap your heads around that. But I believe that your most important legacy, Mayor Agnos, is your commitment to people, to everyday people, to community, to newcomers to the political process like I once was, like Percy will be, to young up-and-comers, to folks that were in trouble, personal trouble, political trouble, both. When the chips were down, Art has been there for so many of us. Once a social worker, always a social worker. And Mayor Agnos never wandered far from his social worker roots. His humanity, his deep and abiding loyalty, his love for people, his mentorship and generosity of spirit. From the bottom of all of our hearts, thank you, Mayor Agnos. And with that, it is now my pleasure to introduce the 46th mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, Mayor Daniel Lurie.
Thank you, Supervisor. Mayor, it's an honor to be here in your neighborhood, in your city, to unveil our Agnos Way in recognition of your decades of service to our great city. This may not be the city that you were born, but it is the city that you made home. In 1966, you moved here and began your career as a social worker. In 1976, you were elected to the California State Assembly. And in 1988, you became mayor of San Francisco. When the Loma Prieta earthquake struck San Francisco in '89, it was your leadership that helped steady our city, bring people together, and guide San Francisco through one of the most challenging times in our city's history. Now, you and I have talked about this before, but as now having the privilege of serving as mayor, I have such a deeper appreciation for those who have come before me and for the responsibility that this office carries. And I know you and I had a couple of conversations down at the Thinkers Cafe when I was living just a couple blocks away. The decisions that you have made, that we make as mayor, can shape San Francisco for generations, and earning the trust of the people we serve is something that we never take for granted. We can see the long-lasting impact of those decisions in the waterfront that you helped open to the public, the affordable housing you expanded, and the broader range of San Franciscans you brought into city government. But your service to the city did not end in 1992, because not only do I still hear stories, I've seen you out here picking up trash on the weekends and looking after the city that you love. That kind of commitment, sir and Mayor, is not manufactured. It comes from caring deeply about the place that you call home. Your legacy reminds us that public service does not end when you leave office, nor does it require one to be in office. So thank you. Thank you to your entire family for everything that you all have given to our city. I want to thank Supervisor Shimon Walton for making this happen. Percy, thank you also. Thank you to your office for leading this effort. And today, this street becomes a permanent reminder to everyone who walks or drives by of a leader who has dedicated his life to San Francisco. Mayor Agnos, thank you for your decades of service, your leadership, and your commitment to San Francisco. Thank you.
So we are on hallowed political ground. This is not just Mayor Agnos' street, but this is John Burton's neighborhood. And like Mayor Agnos, Speaker Pelosi got her starts here not that long ago at Goat Hill Pizza, where all the pizza came from. And like Mayor Agnos, Speaker Emerita Pelosi comes from a long line of selfless elected officials who mentor the next generation and pay it forward, our very own Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Supervisor. Thank you all. It's an honor to be here with each of you, to follow the mayor, to hear all the wonderful things he said about you, Mayor Agnos. It's just a joy to behold. I'm going to get a little personal. I have three things I want to talk about: personal, political, and policy. From a personal standpoint, thank you, Sherry, and thank you, the family. Steve, wonderful to see you. I babysat for you. Christine babysat for you. We babysat for these beautiful babies. And while I mention them, I'll say this about the babies. And now I see his granddaughter. How lovely. There was a big dinner in San Francisco. Phil Burton was being honored by the gay, what was called then the gay lesbian community. Now it would be LGBTQ and all that. As a member of the assembly, Art Agnos showed up at the dinner. He had one of his babies in an infant seat. And he said, I brought my baby son here to this because I want to tell him when he's older that this was something to be proud of, to be at this dinner with the gay and lesbian community. It spoke such volumes because at that time, that's an applause line, okay? Because at that time, there was the big race, the Moscone, blah, 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 and it was really important to make that statement. And while we're talking about LGBTQ, Mr. Mayor, Art brings Cleve Jones to my house to say, I have this idea about making a quilt. Art Agnos is the one who introduced me to that. Of course, I said, I don't even sew. I don't know who sews anymore, but, but Cleve knew better. Thank you for making that connection, but again, a recognition of the importance that you placed on all of that, because at that time when we're talking about the 80s, and then is when we were having the assault of AIDS on our community. So any identity or respect that we could pay, the mayor was in the lead on all that as an assemblyman and then on to becoming mayor. That's was so important at the time because all over the country people were keeping their distance, but not Mayor Agnos. Secondly, policy. We talk about the earthquake. I was with the mayor when we welcomed President Bush, the senior Bush, to San Francisco, and he was very direct about meeting the needs of individual homeowners and business owners and all the rest. You remember how, shall we say, he was a good sport. I mean, you just told him directly what it was. But when we talk about the Embarcadero coming down, I said to Art, Art, we can get that money to take this. This is going to be a big deal. But you have to guarantee that when we get that money, dirt will fly. You have to bring a community together because there was differences of opinion as to whether it should come down and what it meant and what a difference it has made. But he had that vision. Not only did he have the vision, he had the mobilization to make sure that the community wanted to do this so that when resources would come nationally, dirt would fly, and you see the difference that it's made. So he's always been about that. That is what is called the Art Agnos way. The Art Agnos way, and that's why... And so politically, I got to know Art, well, all those years ago, well, in the 70s, actually, with Leo McCarthy. Leo McCarthy was a mentor to both of us, to Anna Eshu, who sends her regards, even to Christine, later coming along. But Leo McCarthy was so wonderful, and we loved him. And he brought us all together, and that's how we got to work very closely at that time. And that was really something so special, so that when he then ran assembly, and that was and then mayor, and that was great, and then was appointed by the President of the United States to Region 9 for housing, and continued his work beyond the office. So it was, and then politically, he was, again, the Art Agnos way was to bring other people forward, as he and I are doing with Connie Chan now, but bringing other people forward. That was his way. So whether his way was to make dirt fly, or to bring younger people forward, or to show the respect for our community when the AIDS hit, it was terrible. There's so much more I could talk about the children and when the babies came and the rest, when he met Sherry and all the rest of that. But again, we have many other speakers. It's all such a wonderful occasion for us, so many people, to come together to pay tribute to you in this way, Art. When we got the news, it was how perfect so that we could honor you, Art Agnos, at Art Agnos Way. Thank you so much. And yes, we had lunch yesterday together, so I'm a big
At Goat Hill Pizza.
I'm a big fan of the supervisor. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So I think when you first ran for assembly, but definitely when you ran for mayor, Anola Maxwell was one of your early supporters, endorsers, had a fundraiser in her house That created an intergenerational relationship that I benefited from when I was able to serve with Enola's daughter, Sophie Maxwell, when she represented this district, and Art endorsed her, and she, of course, in turn hired Connie Chan, has now endorsed Connie. With that, Supervisor Sophie Maxwell.
Thank you so much. You know, I don't know how old some of you are, but there was a little ditty, it was Wyatt Earp, and it said, brave, courageous, and bold. That's Art Agnos. Brave, courageous, and bold. How many people take down a freeway? Brave, courageous, and bold. And my mother was telling me about Art. She said, you know, we're going to have this party for this man, and he's a human being, and he understands community, and he understands people, and he understands that when you help poor people, you're not doing anyone a favor, but yourself. You're bringing everyone up. And he's handsome, too. And then she would say on, and he's good looking, too. And then she would go on, and being handsome doesn't hurt. So I was kind of wondering, okay, is it about him being good looking and handsome and fine and whatever else you want to say, tall, dark, and handsome? Or is it really what he does? But what she was saying is that it's all together. It all combines into this one wonderful, joyous, great smiling, handsome, good-looking, caring man. Brave, courageous, and bold. And thank you. And I think one of the highlights for me is when he introduced me as his supervisor. And you are my mayor forever. Thank you so much.
Our first Greek mayor since Mayor Christopher. To all of the Greeks who are here, thank you for coming. Supervisor Bardis, Planning Director Dean Macris, Victor Macris. I know it means a lot to Mayor Agnos, and it is my honor and pleasure to introduce the Consul General of the nation-state of Greece, Gregorios Tassiopoulos.
Thank you, and thank you, Supervisor Walton, for inviting me. Speaker Emerita, Mayor Lurie, supervisors, dear Art Agnos' friends, it's a great honor to be with you here today at the ceremonial unveiling of Art Agnos Way, paying homage to the extraordinary legacy and public service of former San Francisco Mayor Mr. Art Agnos. On behalf of the Greek state, I would like to pay my respects to Mayor Agnos, a prominent Greek American, a visionary liberal politician, a humanist, a brave man who took important initiatives and led the city of San Francisco during the recovery of the Loma Prieta earthquake, the worst the city has seen since 1906. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to express my personal gratitude to Mayor Agnos and his wife, Sherry, who honor us with their friendship and remain active in the Greek community in this wonderful city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Consul General. I also just want to give a special shout out to Michael Pappas from the Interfaith Council. Mayor Agnos and Michael pioneered the first shelters in San Francisco, and it's a legacy that lives on today, and thank you very much for being here, Michael Pappas. It is now my pleasure to bring Supervisor Shaman Walton back up, who is going to introduce Art's son, Steve.
Thank you so much, and let's give it a hand for, of course, Supervisor Peskin. Thank you so much for emceeing for us. Before I do this, because I do not want Supervisor Peskin to get me in trouble, he mentioned the great Daniel Webster, and so I have to mention, of course, Star King Elementary School, where Jessica Agnos currently works, and both of Art's grandchildren attend. Yeah, I don't need to get in trouble. But no, I was going to have the distinct honor of introducing Mayor Agnos, but Percy and I decided that I really don't qualify to do that over the person that I will be introducing. But before I do that, I'm going to do something backwards and bring up Mayor Agnos real quick so we could take a picture with your certificate of honor signed by the entire Board of Supervisors. And if we could bring up your wife as well, because we have flowers for her. And so it is my privilege and honor to bring up the offspring of the person that we are honoring this morning and turning into afternoon, none other than Steve Agnos.
Thank you all for being here today to honor my dad. It's great to see so many faces of people I love, frankly. Yes, thank you all for being here to honor my dad. Frankly, he deserves it. This is a man who started his career as a social worker in order to help people, and he did. But within that line of work, he began to see ways where if the laws were a little better, he could be more effective at helping more people. So he became a California state assemblyman to help pass better laws to better help the people. And after that, he became mayor of San Francisco, again, so that he could be more effective at helping more people. And he has never lost sight of that. He always told me his job was to go into important rooms where big decisions were being made and advocate for the people that could not afford to be in those rooms. He has always fought for the poor and middle class, and he still does to this day as he approaches his 88th trip around the sun. You know, I'm very aware that I'm in this sweet spot in life where I have my wife and young children there with me, and I also have my mother and father there with me, and we all have each other. By the way, I'd also like to take this moment to honor my mom right there. Please stand up, Mom. She was a wonderful mother while being a very impactful First Lady of San Francisco, raising money for schools, the main library, and the Jelani House, an organization that has helped struggling mothers bring over 300 healthy babies into this world. I like to send my dad articles of centenarians like Mel Brooks or Dick Van Dyke, who are still active, healthy, and happy at the age of 100 to help inspire him. And honestly, I see a lot of signs of hope that we will still have Art Agnos around fighting for this city in 2038. The biggest thing I did for my dad in helping to preserve his longevity was marry my wife, Jessica, right there. And by extension, the biggest thing she did was give birth to those two children right there. That young lady is Athena Sage Agnos. Stand up. And that young man is Daniel Art Agnos. My mom and dad do get to see those kids nearly every day, and I think it's obvious it's adding years to their lives. But I'll tell you another thing that helps fuel and sustain my dad's sharpness and vitality, and that is this city itself. My dad may not have been born here, but he is a San Franciscan to his very core. At this point, he wouldn't make sense existing anywhere else. Even out of office, from phone calls in his living room to community halls around the city, he still does what he can to fight for a city that remembers its working poor and middle class. I'm sure that it is because he is staying in that fight that is also what is sustaining him. And I want that to be the takeaway here, not only for him, but for all of us. The same fight that sustains my dad is also the same fight necessary to sustain San Francisco. And I would encourage you to remember this and take up this good fight if you haven't already. Or if you already have, keep it up and never lose sight of why you do it. This is the Art Agnos way. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce my father, Mayor Art Agnos.
That's the guy your kids used to sit You know, Nancy was right. We'd go over to their house for dinner with Leo McCarthy, and the Pelosi kids played with my kids and kept them out of the way so we could enjoy dinner. This is very emotional for I didn't expect this. Thank you. I wrote down, because I knew this would happen to me, so I wrote down some things to say that some of you will recognize. But first I want to welcome and thank all of you who came today from Marin and from Stockton. Where's Pat Johnson? Pat Johnson, my former colleague in the Assembly, came from Stockton to be here. Extraordinary. Of course. Bill Whitty, who I'm going to be introducing next fall, actress. So I got to get it together a little bit here. I want to welcome everybody. I'm deeply touched, as you can see, by this ceremony and all of the dignitaries that are here. I've got my back to Nancy Pelosi. Are you kidding me? And I will continue, nevertheless. This is a first for our family. We've never been together at a political event with the kids and all the rest of it. And here I have my son, who is, I see you over there, Signell. And here I have my son here introducing me for the first time in either of our lives. Sherry has been the wind beneath my wings. Every step of the way. Every step of the way. And as you heard, Jessica, who's a brilliant astrophysicist in her own right, working up at Star King, has given me the wonderful gift of two extraordinary grandchildren who make my life every day. They come up, we live 11 steps away in 2 flats, and they come up every day, and we see them, and that's what keeps me going, folks. With the speakers today, we're looking at about 125 years of government experience. In fact, I think with this crowd, we could run this country better than it's being run today. And maybe we could get a little bit of a Greek island with the Consul General who is here, and I'm grateful for your presence. My 20-year career in public life would not have been anywhere near as successful without so many of you, but there's one man in particular who was my right arm, my left arm as the deputy mayor of San Francisco, Claude Everhart, and I don't want that to happen. Speaker Pelosi and I go back, as you've heard, with her children watching over my children and everything since. But I want to tell you, she told you a little bit about the Embarcadero. I could not have done it without her. because I couldn't break through the Republican administration that was running the city at the country at the time, and especially the Secretary of Transportation. But all I had to do was go to her office, sit there while she made a call, and I suddenly could get anywhere I wanted to. And we used that to do what you see today on the waterfront. Willie Brown, who's late as usual, is another legend which I enjoy a personal and a political relationship. And Mayor Lurie, thank you for your comments. We are sort of the connecting chemistry-wise because we, as he said, we both know what it's like to be mayor. He's very popular. I was never as popular as he was except for about 2 months after the earthquake, and I did a pretty good job, they thought. But I know where he's getting all of his popularity. As he said, he lived over here 2 blocks away on 20th Street, and for about 2 years while his home was being renovated, and that's where he learned how to do this good stuff. Sophie Maxwell, she's got a history I got from her mother all the time that we worked together. She was most effective as a 3-term supervisor, Sophie was. But what I respect most about her is that she is following a tradition that we have in this part of the city, which is if you're in public office, you still continue to do those things you were committed to as an elected official, and she does that every day with us. But as Nancy suggested, there's 2 people missing for me. Leo McCarthy, who was my mentor, my big brother, the man who taught me whatever I needed to know as a mayor, as a assembly person, and John Burton, who was one of my heroes. Even though sometimes Leo and John didn't get along, it was not over anything that was substantive. He was someone that I met as I worked as a social worker before I ever became a politician in the projects. And everywhere I went, people would say, "You got trouble? Go see Burton." Wow, what a reputation. And so I miss both of them being here, although I'm not so sure about the stories they would have told about me. I want to thank the City Department of Public Works. This is going to be one of my mementos of my life, and I'm grateful for them doing the kind of job they do. Special thanks to Supervisor Walton and his staff, especially Percy Birch. Putting something like this together is not easy, but any elected official who represents this area not only has to be a good legislator, they know how to move bills and stuff like that, but they also have to be an advocate, because this part of the city for many, many years was neglected, or somehow the last one to get the good things and always the first one to get the not so good things. So it was right from the beginning when I came here, I'm going to tell you, but I forgot to mention Aaron Peskin. Aaron Peskin, my buddy. I'm so proud of him, the way he handles things in this city. Clearly, he's the most well-known retired politician in this city. And he was so effective that his opponents tried to stop him from ever running again. And they passed this silly law. One of these days, it'll be retracted, you watch. But in the meantime, those same opponents go to him to know how to get something done in City Hall, because he is such a perfect legislator who cares about people but knows and does his homework. And I thank him for doing the kind of job that he's done today. In 1966, I came here on a Greyhound bus, never been west of the Mississippi River, and got off the bus after 3 days and 2 nights, nonstop on a bus, 96 hours with $500 in my pocket. And I got off at 7th and Townsend. I'd say, where the hell am I? Because it was so different than what I expected. I thought I was coming to San Diego, but it was San Francisco with the kind of weather that we enjoy so regularly here. And I had an old college friend who housed me for a few months while I got my bearings on the city. But I wasn't comfortable over in Pacific Heights where he lived. It wasn't the kind of neighborhood I had lived in or expected to find here. So I said, isn't there a place where there's a little more warmth and sun? Isn't there a place where there are people who work for a living in the trades? Isn't there a place? They said, yeah, Potrero Hill. Go check it out. Came up Connecticut Street. Over there was Cicerone Realty, some of you surely know. And in that was Mrs. Jaklovich, this crusty elderly lady who lived down Connecticut Street. What do you want, young man? I said, I'm looking for a 2-bedroom apartment with a deck, a view, and a fireplace. And she said, I got just the place for you. And she took me down to 635, 637 Connecticut Street and introduced me to Jim Herman. Jim Herman. Can you imagine coming to this city and one of the first people you're connected with is Jim Herman, who was then a ship clerk's president in the ILWU, who started to teach me as I lived there, and I'd go up every night at 6 o'clock. We'd watch Walter Cronkite on the news, right? And that's how I learned about first Potrero Hill and then this city. He would coach me, describe things that were happening to me, and then introduce me to neighbors on Potrero Hill like Joe Passon and Ruth Passon. Who remembers that? Huh? Joe Passon. And they taught me and introduced me to I had never met a Chinese person before I came here. I had never met a gay person before I came here. I had never met the kind of people that I love so much here anywhere else but here. And it was, a lot of them lived on Potrero Hill. And a lot of them lived here on Connecticut Street. And the Passons told me about the farm workers. They told me about gay rights. They told me about civil rights. They told me all of the kinds of things that I had not been that familiar with. And then I met other people. And I worked, for example, with Mickey Osler. I don't know if he's here. And Rosemary Sicoli, who were people who introduced me to the neighborhood. We started working early on Victoria Mews, which was the beginning of development in this area and the kind we wanted. Then I traveled with Father Peter Salmon from St. Teresa's. We went down to El Salvador and Guatemala to study and work for civil rights and social justice in those areas. We came back and we created the sanctuary movement in this city and the sanctuary at St. Teresa's that's still there today. 1974, Phil D'Andrade opened up Goat Hill Pizza. Goat Hill Pizza. And became a business leader. He also became a neighborhood leader here on Potrero Hill. And it was he that introduced me to the first organic grocery store down on 18th Street when Lester Scheidman and Karen Hudeberg opened it. They had some trouble. Oh, there she is. There we are. You can see there we are at the picture. And we worked together. We rallied the community and saved the grocery store, which is right over there today. Thank you. So, as you can see, I've been involved in those fundamentals that I learned in the early days, certainly have sustained me throughout my career. And so today, at 87 years of age, I head to the city down that hill, and I look at the view. I love it every time. And it's changing. Not only the skyline, but so many other parts of it. But I still love it. And I look at it and I say, as I'm traveling down there in the old days, I would say, what am I going to do today down there to make that place a little better? What's going to come to me? What can we do? Well, when I was mayor and I went and took down the same trip and looked at that view, I look at there and say, what are you going to do to me today? By the way, Mr. Mayor, that sign is 37 years old, and it's not going to be used again. So the new generation is here on Potrero Hill, but the community values and things that we do are still the same. Lisa, where is Lisa? Lisa sits there and writes out the next project we're all going to work out, plans the next block party that we're going to introduce our new neighbors to, and create a sense of community. It's always been that way in this city. The new generation is learning. The new generation is learning. Jennifer Betty and Catherine Dumani joined with me. And they learned from me and others in this community how to save that school when it was proposed for closure. And today it's a thriving place that they have taught the next generation after them, because their kids are all 18, 19 now, but they passed it on. And that's the tradition in this city. So today, I stand here and thank you for what this honor represents to me. And I hope that in the days to come, when I'm no longer here, and somebody is sitting here eating an ice cream, and they say, who's that guy? And some of you will respond that he was one of us. He was a neighbor. He was a neighbor who lived with us while he fulfilled the ancient Greek promise of the Athenians when they became citizens of their city. They said, I promise to leave my city better than I found it.
I have a lot of folks from community who are here. Potrero Hill Public Housing community is here. Potrero Hill businesses are here. Potrero Hill nonprofit leaders are here. So thank you all for attending. And I do have to one say thank you so much to Goat Hill Pizza for all of your support and help with this event. And after this, there will be a reception held at Goat Hill, so please come down and enjoy some pizza at Goat Hill. And yes, Supervisor Chan, come on up, because we are going to call Public Defender Mano, Raju, come on up. Public Defender Raju, Matt, come on up. We want all of our folks, Ross, come on up. Mr. Everhart, come on up. And then, of course, Mayor Agnos is going to have the honor and duty of doing this. And we're gonna count down from. We're gonna count down from 5.
Straight this way. Come towards us a little bit. So it comes straight back. Yeah.
All right. You ready? Count down from 5. 5,
4, 3,